Give us my chol, give us my chol, give us my chol, give a smile. Give us my chol, give us my chol, be the reason someone smiles. Give us my chol, give us my chol, give us my chol, give a smile. Give us my chol, give us my chol, be the reason someone smiles. Give us my chol, give us my chol, give us my chol, give a smile. Give us my chol, give us my chol, be the reason someone smile. Give us my chol, give us my chol, give us my chol, give a smile. Give us my chol, give us my chol, be the reason someone smiles. Simba gedola, liyo liyo besimcha. Simba gedola, liyo liyo besimcha. Simba gedola, liyo liyo besimcha. Simba gedola, liyo besimcha. Simba gedola, liyo 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 besimcha. Be the reason someone smiles. 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 Simba gedola, liyo besimcha. Simba gedola, liyo liyo besimcha. Simba gedola, liyo liyo besimcha. Simba gedola, liyo besimcha. Someone smile. Be the reason someone smile. Be the reason someone smile. Be the reason someone smiles. Be the reason someone smiles.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone is having an amazing day wherever in the world that you are. It was unbelievable this morning seeing how many people posted a voice note saying Moda'ani lefanecha, thanking Hashem for giving them their soul back in the morning, thanking Hashem for all the wonderful things that they have in their life. A lot of people forget to say it in the morning. If you haven't said it yet today, please take a moment, talk to Hashem. Thank Hashem for giving you the gift of life. Moda'ani lefanecha, melachai v'kayam, shechazarta b'nishmasi b'chemla rabba emunasecha. We look forward to running tonight's first raffle for this chat. See you soon, guys.
Breakfast with Elli. Moda'ani lefanecha, melech chai v'kayam והחזרת בי נשמתי בחמלה רבה אמונתך.
May the Messiah come soon.
Can you tell me what month is the 8th month of the year? It's August. It's August. Spell it A-U-G-U-S-T. A-U-G-U-S-T. Count the days, 31 you'll see. August, August for you and me. It's August.
Good morning and welcome to Breakfast with Elli. I should probably get ready. I know, right? It is Thursday, the 3rd day of August, the 16th day of Av, 5783, the year of Hakhel. The Torah portion is Eikev, HaYom, Yom Chamishi, L'Shabbos, the 5th day. Counting up towards Shabbos, be learning the 5th Aliyah. Good morning. How are you? I'm sorry, I'm distracted. I'm by myself in the studio today, and so I had to take care of some things. That's it. Yep. But I'm here now. As soon as I get this up to date, I will be ready to rock and roll here. Yes. Oh my goodness, we have so much to do today. But you know what? We have so much to do every single day. We are in the month of Av. We are approaching the month of Elul. I know it's minutes away. I'm telling you. We need to start preparing. So actually, from this day on, we say Ksiv v'chsim tova. A good gebencht yor, may you be signed and inscribed for a healthy, sweet new year, and we're going to put that up on the screen right now because it's important. All right, where is it now? Now we're going to take that and put it up here. There we go. And we will add that to our main event so that we can see it all day, every day. There we go. Right there. Yep. I know. We'll put it right there for now. All right, it is that time of year. All right, men and boys, take your 2 front sentences. Let's make a bracha.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al mitzvat tzitzit.
All right. Al divrei Torah, everyone together.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al divrei Torah.
All right. Hareini mekabel.
Hareini mekabel alai mitzvat aseh shel ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. I take upon myself every single day to love my fellow friend in a very special way.
Torah tziva.
Ay Torah tziva lanu Moshe Morasha Keilat Yaakov. Torah tziva lanu Moshe Morasha Keilat Yaakov.
Right. Now it is time to give tzedakah.
I put it in the pushki that's a darker box. I put it in the pushki that's a darker box. I put it in the pushki for someone else to keep. Yeah, I put it in the pushki that's a darker box. I put it in the pushki that's a darker box. I put it in the pushki for someone else in need.
All right, Stucca has been given. Excellent. That takes us to the thing. Please take your right hand and put it over your eyes.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
And that brings us to our breakfast time.
Hakhel niye bidvoroi, Hakhel niye bidvoroi.
Got my coffee and my yogurt. Are you ready? Bracha Adonai. Elena Melch Haolam Hakhel niye bidvoroi.
Coffee, blessed coffee. God bless you for being a friend. When the whole world turns on me, it's only you on which I can depend. I want to taste you in the morning and a few times throughout the day. Yes, a cup or two in the evening too. For me, it's the only way. Yeah.
All right. And that, of course, takes us to today in Jewish history. All right, let me get there for you. All right. Today is the yahrzeit of Rabbi Sir Moshe Montefiore, a religious philanthropist who worked tirelessly on behalf of his brethren worldwide, and especially in the land of Israel. He dispensed large sums of money towards charitable causes and founded numerous establishments and institutions. Sir Montefiore traveled far and wide to visit Jewish communities and intercede on their behalf before such rulers as Queen Victoria, Tsar Alexander II, the Ottoman Sultan, and the Pope. He lived to the ripe age of 100, passing away today, the 16th day of the month of Av. If you'd like more about Sir Moshe Montefiore, yes, that's right, the hospitals. Yes, the hospitals are named after him. That is true. All right. So now you know. All right. Let's see. We'll get to that. Okay. Right now, HaYom for today, the 16th day of Av.
There are some really kind people out there. I'm talking about a person who gets asked favors all the time. And whenever this person can deliver, he says, yes, you need something? I can do it for you? Yes, I will gladly do it for you. That's pretty good. But the Jewish idea of charity, of kindness, of giving to others does go a step further. The Torah expects us to not just wait until people come to us and ask us for favors. We are supposed to be responsible for looking around us and sensing, becoming aware of the needs of people around us, and then taking the initiative and getting out there and saying, hey, can I give this to you? Can I help you this way? Because there are lots of people out there who, may be embarrassed to approach and ask for help, or secondly, there are lots of people out there who don't even know that they are in need of help, and if you take the initiative and provide, you will be able to help those people. So don't just wait to be asked for favors. Step up, take the initiative, offer your help. Today's HaYom is a fascinating HaYom. Here's how it goes. When the Baal Shem Tov, founder of the Hasidic movement, first became known to the world, he would travel widely throughout Europe. Why would he travel? 3 reasons. Firstly, very often he would arrive in a town where there were Jewish people that were in prison, being held captive. The Baal Shem Tov would make it his business to seek these people out and do everything in his power, if it meant to raise money or pull strings, talk to the right people, to ensure that his brethren in captivity would be freed. Second major purpose of the travels of the Baal Shem Tov would be to bolster, to strengthen Torah knowledge and observance amongst all of the towns, the Jewish communities that he would visit, to make them more aware and more observant. And finally, the third objective of the Baal Shem Tov's travels was to share the teachings of Hasidus, the inner dimension of the Torah that the Baal Shem Tov was famous for, to share these wonderful spiritual, mystical teachings with his fellow Jews. Now, this was a different type of model because most major Jewish teachers in the Baal Shem Tov's times, and this is true today as well, the model was you'd set up a center of Torah learning in your town, in your city, and then your reputation would grow if you were a great teacher, and people would come to you for the learning. And here the Baal Shem Tov says, no, I'm going to bring the Torah, bring the teachings of Hasidus to them. So he was the original traveling rabbi. And the second Rebbe of Chabad, the Mittler Rebbe, was once talking about this contrast, and he said, here's the explanation. Most of the other teachers, Torah teachers, great Torah luminaries in the times of the Baal Shem Tov, were teaching the revealed aspect of the Torah, so the legal aspects of the Torah, or they're teaching Jewish law, and Jewish law and the revealed aspect of the Torah, so the Talmud, the Mishnah, these are compared to water. And people gravitate to water, right? Most major cities are built around bodies of water. People are attracted to water. So if you set up a center of Torah study, a center of water, you build it, they will come. But in the case of the Baal Shem Tov, it's different, because he was teaching the inner dimensions of the Torah, which are compared not so much to water, but more to fire, to a burning, raging fire. Now, there's lots of power, there's lots of warmth, there's lots of light in the teachings of Hasidus, but there is also an aspect of intimidation. When people see fire, they put up their guards, they take a step back. And that's why it was so important for the Baal Shem Tov to say, if I wait for people to come to me, there's going to be all sorts of people that could have gained from these teachings that never will. Therefore, I'm going to have to make a point to take the wisdom, the great Hasidic, the great insight and wisdom of the Hasidic teachings that I have, hit the road and seek out people to share what I have, what I know is very valuable, and share that with people who would be helped by learning these teachings, but may not even know that they are in need of that help, in need of that inspiration. So there's a very simple lesson over here. Don't just wait until somebody comes knocking on your door for a favor or comes knocking on your door for inspiration. Get out there, take the initiative, and be a help to people even before they come knocking at your door.
How you doing? There you got it. All right. Yes, indeed. Okay. So that brings us to a word from our sponsors.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
PestProRidall.com.
PestProRidall.com, trusted by the best to keep away the pests. We are offering COVID-19 disinfection services. Mention this ad and get 1 month free service. Visit us at PestProRidall.com.
Tarzane Group, micro, miniature, and small orchids. Go to tarzanegroup.com or call Tomas at 305-440-0565. That's 305-440-0565 and order today. Visit Tomas and Yair at tarzanegroup.com. Micro, miniature, and small orchids, beautiful in your home. Go to the website and read Tomas's orchid blog. And by Dina D Design. DinaDDesign at gmail.com. Fine artwork, custom made to your specifications. Logos, wall hangings, Judaica. And you can even have something for your child's room. Dina D Designs. Go to her Facebook or Instagram or call or text. Thank you very much to our sponsors. If you'd like to become a sponsor, please go right up here to where it says patreon.com/theactorsrabbi, and you can contribute even only $1 a month if you'd like, but that'll help us bring this broadcast to you on a daily basis and cover our expenses. Be sure to thank your sponsors when shopping and mention Breakfast with Elli when you're shopping there. There might be discounts. Thanks for watching.
Torah, 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 Tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Tziva lanu Moshe.
All right, patreon.com/theactorsrabbi or breakfastwithelli.live/tipjar. If you would like to participate in supporting Torah learning all around the world. All right, we are fortunate today. Ashreinu matayv chelkeinu. It's a good day because we have Rabbi Jonathan Sachs from the archive. Here is part one.
The power of gratitude. In the early 1990s, one of the great medical research exercises of modern times took place. It became known as the Nun Study. Some 700 American nuns, all members of the School Sisters of Notre Dame in the United States, agreed to allow their records to be accessed by a research team investigating the process of aging and Alzheimer's disease. At the start of the study, the participants were aged between 75 and 102. What gave this study its unusual longitudinal scope is that in 1930 the nuns, then in their 20s, had been asked by the Mother Superior to write a brief autobiographical account of their life and their reasons for entering the convent. These documents were now analyzed by the researchers using a specially devised coding system to register, among other things, positive and negative emotions. By annually assessing the nuns' current state of health, the researchers were able to test whether their emotional state in 1930 had an effect on their health some 60 years later. Because they'd all lived a very similar lifestyle during these 6 decades, they formed an ideal group for testing hypotheses about the relationship between emotional attitudes and health. The results, published in 2001, were startling. The more positive emotions like contentment, gratitude, happiness, hope, and love the nuns expressed in their autobiographical notes, the more likely they were to be alive and well 60 years later. The difference was as much as 7 years in life expectancy. So remarkable was this finding that it has led since then to a new field of gratitude research, as well as a deepening understanding of the impact of emotions on physical health. What medicine now knows about individuals, Moses knew about nations. Gratitude, hakarat hatov, is at the heart of what he has to say about the Israelites and their future in the Promised Land. Gratitude had not been their strong point in the desert. They complained about the lack of food and water, about the manna and the lack of meat and vegetables, about the dangers they faced from the Egyptians as they were leaving, and about the inhabitants of the land they were about to enter. They lacked thankfulness during difficult times. But a greater danger still, said Moses, would be a lack of gratitude during the good times. This is what he warned. When you have eaten your fill and have built fine houses and live in them, when your herds and flocks are multiplied and your silver and gold is multiplied and all that you have is multiplied, do not exalt yourself, forgetting the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. Do not say to yourself, my power and the might of my own hand have gained me this wealth. The worst thing that could happen to them, warned Moses, would be that they forgot how they came to the land, how God had promised it to their ancestors and had taken them from slavery to freedom, sustaining them during the 40 years in the wilderness. This was a revolutionary idea, that the nation's history be engraved on the people's souls, that it was to be reenacted in the annual cycle of festivals, and that the nation, as a nation, should never attribute its achievements to itself, my power and the might of my own hand, but should always ascribe its victories, indeed its very existence, to something higher than itself, namely to God. This is a dominant theme of Deuteronomy, and it echoes throughout the book time and again.
And that's where we will pause for today. That's right. In the fifth Aliyah, Moshe charges the Israelites to love and fear Hashem and to serve him. He expounds on Hashem's greatness and impresses on the Israelites their great fortune, that Hashem has chosen them to be his treasured nation. He then reminds the Jews again of the many miracles that Hashem performed on their behalf since they left Egypt.
Chamishi Parshas Eikev, another pretty long Aliyah. Again, we can continue with Moshe Rabbeinu's speech. But in this speech comes an halacha, one of the 613 commandments, but almost all the counters, practical to us today. And here it says, Ve'ahavte mesager. One has a commandment to love the convert. Ki ger mis Meritzrayim. You guys were gerim in the land of Egypt. An actual practical commandment to love gerim. This will say an interesting story. The Talmud, Kedushin 73:1, has an interesting story. Very interesting. Reb Zera came to a town called Mechuzah. And in the town, he said that gerim are permitted to marry mamzerim. There's a question of law we won't get into right now, but there's something called natural-born Jews of Kahal Hashem. They're called the Kahal, and they're only allowed to marry within the Kahal. Gerim is a question. Gerim are for sure regular Jews, but can they also marry mamzerim? Which, by the way, is a positive, because if someone, God forbid, is a mamzer, who are you limited to marry? So they can marry converts according to this, which is a positive thing as well. But in the meantime, it says Mechuzah was a town full of gerim. So they got very angry at him. They started stoning him, it says, with esroigim. They said, Reb Zera, what are you coming to our town? All of us are converts, and you say converts can marry mamzerim, which means we're not equal to everybody else. And Rava said, Rava tells Reb Zera, how do you give such a speech like this in this town? And Rava got up and said, but you know, gerim can marry kahanim. No problem. And everyone was all excited. And then Rava said, by the way, Reb Zera is right. Gerim can marry kahanim, but they also can marry mamzerim. And no one complained. So the commentators point out, wait a second. Rava, you complain to Reb Zera, don't say it. Don't make everyone upset. It's a town of converts. You're equating them with mamzerim. It's not a good idea. Rava, you did the same thing. So the obvious answer, everyone's thinking, is no. He first started out with something positive. He said, no, love the ger, but by the way, the ger also can marry a kohen, which I think is a lesson for us in life. It's not always about what the words are being said. It's the context of everything around that's going on. So you want to be critical sometimes. You feel you have to be critical. First, make sure you have to be critical. First, make sure you're right about being critical. But even if those two things are right, do something positive well. Start with a positive statement, say something nice. In the context of a positive thing, the negativity, I don't like the word negativity, the musar, the reproach, the reproving of somebody can work a little better. And that's the lesson. Love the ger, but also love the ger within ourselves. All of us have a little bit within us that we are considered like converts. We're all in Egypt. All of us have this as well. Learn from love the ger. Love yourself, but positive and negative only works that way. It doesn't only work negative. Thank you.
right. Rabbi Feldman, Chabad of Ice.
Should you reward children or adults for good behavior? Many people will tell you that it could easily give the wrong message, because while rewards encourage people to do the right thing, it might also teach them to only do so as long as they're receiving some benefit in return. Rewards could cheapen the intrinsic value of the good behavior. Mature people shouldn't do good only because they'll be paid for it. We should train ourselves to do what's good and to do the right thing because it's the right thing and because it's the noble thing to do. The strange thing is that in Judaism, you'll find all sorts of incentives to do mitzvahs. So in the Torah, God promises all sorts of material rewards for those who follow in his ways and do mitzvahs. But doesn't that cheapen the value of a mitzvah? Shouldn't we be doing a mitzvah just for the sake of the mitzvah? The truth is that the reward for a mitzvah is the actual mitzvah that you did. The reward for a good deed is the good deed itself. The reward for being kind is the fact that you were able to help someone else. The reward is that now you created a connection with God. Now you made the world a little bit better and a little bit brighter. The Torah does in fact promise material rewards for doing mitzvahs, but the material items are not the ultimate reward. The reward is the fact that you now have the resources to do yet another mitzvah. So God will bless you with opportunities and material possessions so that you could utilize those things that you've received to help another person and to do another mitzvah. So the greatest reward of a mitzvah is the mitzvah itself and the opportunity to do another one.
Beautiful. The mitzvah is the mitzvah. All right. Here we go. Time-wise, all right, plenty of time. We are doing the Chief Rabbi of England today.
3 weeks of sadness requires 7 weeks of consolation. That's the period of the calendar that we are in right now. Between the fast days of Shiva Sabbat Tammuz and Tisha B'Av, we have 3 weeks in which we contemplate on so many tragedies that we experienced in our past. And for the 7 weeks between Tisha B'Av and Rosh Hashanah, we have the Shiva Denechamta, the 7 weeks of consolation. And they commence with that great haftarah for Shabbat Nachamu, which is the Shabbat of Parshat Va'etchanan, starting with the words of the prophet Yeshayahu, Nachamu, Nachamu Ami, comfort, comfort my people. Rabbi Berelwein explains the reason for the double Nachamu. And he says it is because, having experienced... Why did the Rebbe ask for a cigar? In Parshat Eikev, we are told how Hashem is continuously concerned about the land of Israel. Mereshit Hashana ad Acharit Shana, from the beginning of the year until the end of the year. And the Imre Emet, one of the great Rebbes of Gur, would teach that from here we learn how we should always know that Hashem is not just looking at the land of Israel, Hashem is looking at the entire world, He's looking at ourselves, and therefore we should be mindful of His presence wherever we are and at whatever time it might be. It so happened that one of his Hasidim came to the Rebbe and said, I'm going to Paris and I'll be there for a day or two on business. I've never been to Paris before. Please, Rebbe, give me your bracha. The Rebbe gave him his bracha and he added and he said, please do me a favor. When you're in Paris, please buy me a cigar. Oh, the Chassid felt very privileged that he would be able to buy a cigar for the Rebbe, and he had never heard of the Rebbe ever smoking. Anyway, he went to Paris. He had an excellent day. Things went wonderfully. did great business. He was on the train, and as it was moving out of Paris, he suddenly remembered, oy vey, I forgot to buy the cigar for the Rebbe. The person who was a fellow traveler looked and saw how crestfallen he was. He said, what's the matter? And he told him. So the other traveler said, don't worry, this train will be stopping at Brussels, and I know that on this platform you'll be able to buy a cigar. That's exactly what happened. When the Chassid came back to the Rebbe, he presented him with a beautiful cigar. And the Rebbe asked, where did you get this from? And he said, to be honest, I forgot in Paris, but this is from Brussels and it's top quality. And then he noticed that the Rebbe was disappointed. He said, Rebbe, why are you disappointed? The Rebbe said, I didn't ask you for a cigar because I'm interested in cigars. I asked you for a cigar so that when in Paris you would remember that you've got a Rebbe. And so too the Rebbe taught, wherever we are and under whatever circumstances we are existing, we should be mindful of the fact we have a God. And Hashem looks down with concern upon us, wanting to shower his blessings within our lives. Merishit Hashana ad Acharit Shana, from the beginning to the end of every single year. If we internalize this very lesson and are mindful of the presence of Hashem in our lives, that will certainly transform everything that we do. Shabbat Shalom.
Mereshis Hashana and Achris Hashana. It's very, very true. All right. Rabbi Dr. Moshe Drelich.
Hi everyone, this week is Parshas Eikev. I have grandchildren who live on different sides of the ocean, and they don't really get together that often, especially the young ones. It's for the first time that they're meeting their cousins. What's really strange is when they see each other in the room with myself, and they go, oh, he's my Saba. No, wait, he's my Saba. How could it be your Saba? He's my Saba. And I try to explain to them, of course, that I'm both their Sabas, and that Saba has enough love to go around for everybody. Well, that's also an idea that we learned in this week's parsha. We have the mitzvah of grace after meals, bichra mazon, to bench. And then when three males are sitting down to have a meal or more, the Mishnah says that they are required to have a mezuman. That means they invite each other to come together to bless God's name. And it's based on two different psukim that the Gemara talks about. Rav Hirsch adds another idea. Rav Hirsch on the Chumash adds another idea that I think kind of brings home something that's a little bit nuanced that I never thought about before. You see, when I'm hungry, I'm thinking about myself. When I'm seeking food, it's really a selfish motive. Whether I go to work, well, I'm going to work because I need to eat, I need to feed my family. It's a little bit of a selfish idea, and I don't necessarily take into account others. But when I'm sitting down and I'm finally finished and I am satiated, the Torah is teaching us if I'm sitting with others and everybody has their fill, there are others who are sitting and having a meal with me, whether we're guests of someone else or just randomly sitting at a table having a meal together, we're required to acknowledge that God has enough love for all of us equally and that all our needs are met individually. That God doesn't just worry about me, and God doesn't have to just worry about me, He has to worry about all His creations. And when I'm sitting at a meal with other people, I'm acknowledging that God takes care of all His creations. And so that's part of the greatness of Hashem. When we make a mezuman, we have to think about this idea that Hashem is everybody's Saba. Certainly, our homes are open and we share those blessings. But we should never think that it's just me and you, God. Hashem is the God of the world. And He provides for all living animals, all living beings, their sustenance and their needs. And that's an idea that we learned from the Mazuman. I'd like to just quote Rav Hirsch, and we'll end it here. In seeking food, more than in anything else, a person tends to think only for himself. And every man competes with his fellow man. The communal element in the meal, in the recitation of the Bracha, reminds us of God's goodness, which is directed simultaneously and in equal measure to all. And thus we are liberated from our selfish thoughts. For this reason, Birchas Hamazon refers to the Birchat Hazon. If you like what you hear, please pass it on. If you care, please share. Shabbat Shalom.
All right. And Reb Zusha Wilhelm.
Rabbi Wilhelm.
Yes, Shalom Aleichem. Good yontif. See where I walk into a store and I hear from the other end of the store someone says, Smicha online is here. Online Smicha is here. So, you want to go through? So, it's like you said, it's good yontif. It's two ba'av.
Right, it is.
Like HaYom and Taivu Yisrael Chamishi Asabav HaYom HaKippurim. I actually heard somebody saying a joke. Why are these two the biggest Yom Tov? Of all the Yom Tov, these two, someone said because those are the only two Yom Tov that don't cost any money. What are you laughing? But the fact is, it is a Yom Tov. Okay, today, Parshas Eikev, there's a shmata word from the KOSHER Rebbe. The KOSHER Rebbe says, "V'hoya Eikev." Eikev is the heel, the end. At the end of time, Tishmu, you're going to listen anyways. So why do you wait? Why do you have to get messages, reminders as a Nevi'im? Do it already now. Because eventually, Eikev Tishmu. That's number one. Now, in Chazal, we know we went through Tisha B'Av, and that was Tu B'Av. There's different messengers that Eibush sends us to remind. Achman al-Fam, Eibush sends a churban. And from the other hand, it can be in a positive way. In this week's parsha, we have the second parsha. Want to go through? The second parsha of Shema, and over there, the second parsha of Shema, you have to concentrate. It seems to be a repeat of the first parsha of Shema, but the difference is over there it's written b'lashon yachid, singular. Here it's written b'lashon rab. And it's another basic difference. Parsha Rishona doesn't say b'chol moed. The Parsha Rishona says b'chol moed. B'chol avavcha, b'chol nafsha, b'chol moed. When it comes to Parsha Shnia, it doesn't say b'chol moed. And the Chaim, the Eikev, they say that the difference is because b'chol moed, for what according to some Perusha means with all your money. Give all your money away for Torah mitzvahs, the Yiddish guy. Now, why would I need to have a pasuk to tell me that? So the Torah says in Brachas, because Yesh B'nei Adam, there are people that they like their money more than they like themselves. So the Torah has to say b'chol moed. That's a quishnam. That's not the normal. There are some individuals who are crazy enough that money makes them shicker. But most of us, we don't get overwhelmed with money. We know it's only a means to get to the. So when it talks about the Lashon Yachid, it says b'chol moed. You might be from not you, Chas v'Shalom. You're right. The person might be one of those people who money. When they talk about the cloud, over there it doesn't say, I don't have to warn you, because every normal group of people knows that there's that money is secondary. Money is secondary. Anyway, Torah mitzvahs is what makes us go. We need to have positive reminders. I'll be beside with a small story. They say a mushroom, and the person was on top of a building. And he was looking on the roof, he was looking down, everything looked small, and he got locked out. He couldn't get back in. He has to figure out how to have somebody come open the door. So he figures he has to scream, nobody listens. He sees how to start with dollar bills. He throws down the dollar bills. And he sees everybody grabbing, running the money. And they run to the store, they want themselves a cheap thing. Nobody would notice. So he sees that he has a couple of glass dishes. He takes the glass dishes, he throws them down, and everybody looks up. Who's throwing glass dishes? The moral of the story is, let's be reminded that the Eibishter, which is the Parashat Spitzer, the Mezuzah, again in this week's Parashat, with the goodness, with the good what the Eibishter gives, Chas v'Shalom, we don't need a churban for us to look up what's going on. Now I'll be Messiah, and there is a Chassidus Shavart. The Shavart says, the Mishnah Perkei Avos says, "Mistakel b'shleish dvarim ve'eina b'yat dvar l'de'avera." So the simple thing is, one of the Chassidus Shavart says, "Mistakel b'shleish dvarim." Look at the third parsha of Dvarim. third parsha is part of Parshas Eikev. Why? Because Ma Hashem Elikecha Shalom Me'imach Kim V'yira. Have Yiras Hashem, and have that on your mind, and you'll never Chaim L'chaim.
All right. Time for one more Torah short.
About the Sicha of Chaf Av, an unbelievable lesson. The 20th of Av was a day that a new family had to bring wood for the Ma'aracha. And they brought it on Sunday, and it's an unbelievable, nuanced lesson over here. They could come with a complaint, seemingly, and this is a commentary on the Sicha. What are you talking about? This is our time. How dare, which wood was offered on the 20th of Av, which was Shabbos, wasn't their families, but it was their day. So this is a nuanced balance that we all have to have in our lives. There are times that the Beis HaMikdash needs us and nobody else can do it. And for that we're honored in perpetuity that a Yom Tov is made for us, a personal Yom Tov. Those of us who merited that the Shechina uses us to spread its light, we will be forever honored for that reason. But the problem is, when we get caught up in our own head, and it occurs to us that we should take over on Friday, which is somebody else's turn, or else Shabbos, they'll be using their wood instead of our wood, we can get into trouble. We have to remember that the purpose of donating wood is so that the Mizbeach has a fire and the Karbonos Tzibur can be offered. It's not about us. We have the merit that the Shechina uses us, and we will be forever honored because of that. Even when the Shechina doesn't need us anymore, we will be given the opportunities to bring and to be honored. But if we forget that, and we start encroaching on other people's space because it's about us, that's a terrible thing. We know that the Rebbe appointed people and begged people to go on shlichus, and those who went on shlichus and those who were appointed are perpetually honored. But we also know that the Rebbe wanted you and I and everybody else to be part of it. And when we forget that there are times that the Shekhinah will do it without us, when you wait online on Gimel Tammuz and you realize that the 4 hours that you are standing there is the Rebbe today doesn't need you and is not begging you, but the Rebbe honors you, that you have a chance to be the one who provides the wood. Remember, ma'achrim v'loi makdimin. Allow room for others also, because there's so much work to do. There is so much work to do. And if we want to make the ultimate korban ha'etzim, when we are a klotz of wood, maybe we should break ourselves a bit, chop ourselves up, and offer those broken parts of ourselves for the atzei maracha, so that there can be a fire in which the korbanos tzibur can be offered up. And God forbid not to get caught up in our own heads that it's all about us, but rather enjoy and have simcha in the fact that we are used for the public good.
I think that is exactly where we need to leave it for today, and go from there. All right, like points. All right. Here we go. Eikev, right? So, L'madatam osam es b'nechem l'daber bam. It says in this week's Torah portion, you shall teach it to your children to speak with them. The verse is the source from which we learn that a father is obligated to teach his children Torah. As the Alter Rebbe writes, a father is obligated to teach his young son Torah, as it's written, you shall teach them to your sons and speak about them. From when is a father obligated to teach? From when he begins to speak. You should teach him Torah, as Torah tziva lanu Moshe, as well as the first verse of the Shema. Earlier, the Torah instructs us, these words that I command you today, you should teach them thoroughly to your children. That mitzvah, however, speaks of a more advanced level of learning when the child is able to thoroughly grasp and retain the Torah that he's taught. In addition, our sages interpret the word children in that verse as a reference to students, one's spiritual children. The mitzvah to teach them thoroughly to your children is the obligation upon the learned to teach Torah to all those who desire to study, even those that are not their biological offspring. In contrast, the mitzvah given here, you shall teach them to your children to speak with them, refers to very early child education, when he's just beginning to speak. As Rashi explains the verse quite literally, from the moment your son knows how to speak, teach him the verse Torah tziva lanu Moshe. Let him learn to speak with this. This training obviously begins at home, long before the child is old enough to enter school. Clearly then, this verse refers to a parent's personal mitzvah to teach Torah to their child, an obligation that goes into effect as soon as the child begins to speak. Right? And now, the saying of Tehillim.
Al Yedei Amidas Tehillim. Al Yedei Amidas Tehillim.
All right, we are in
Al Yedei Amidas Tehillim. Tisoyre Chavatzeles Hashoroin.
Shamala Yisrael, Visamachti, Vayimlimli, Vasalino, Yinay, Oyim and I saw you, Ravilayinu, Bishara, Yerushalayim, Yerushalayim, Hallelujah, Ki Shafura Yachdav, Sheshamu Shatim Shiftaya, Eidus Israel, Lehoyda Yisrael, Shayim Alayna. Shama Yashavu Chizais Mishvat Kisais Levayis David Shalu Shalayim Yerushalayim Yishrayu Ayhavayich Ahai Yishalayim Michayleich Shava V'ayvena Yisayich Ahai
Tanya.
All right, Tanya in many minutes for today, the 16th day of Av. Let's go.
Tanya thoughts for the 16th of Menachem Av. Recognize this verse from the opening of Ecclesiastes. Vanity of vanities, says Koheles. Vanity of vanities. It's all vanity. You think it's vanity? I wasn't sure. Look, this verse contains 7 references to vanity. Hevel, Hevalim is 2. Count it. Trust me on the math. There are 7 steps from Hevel, airy, the non-substantive, to the substantive. Trace existence to its origin of non-existence, and you will find Hashem.
Why did the Rebbe ask for a cigar? In Parshat Eikev, we are told how Hashem is continuously concerned about.
Oops, got a wrong address over here. Let's get the right one in. All right, here we go.
Let's talk Tanya for the 16th of Av. In yesterday's Tanya, we explained that our world, our sages tell us, is rooted in the Hey of God's name. The reason for that is because the Hey represents God's speech, and our world was created through God's speech. But the question is, all the worlds were created with God's speech, so what is unique about our world, which caused the sages to say that specifically our world was created with the Hey? So first, the Alter Rebbe confirms, yes, that is actually correct. All the worlds were created with Hashem's speech. The fact that we look even at the higher worlds and we find the incredible, the multitudes of worlds, the multitudes of angels within each world, multiplicity always comes from words. This is something that we discussed at length earlier on in Tanya and Shayuchid Vamuna, how we have the 10 utterances. And when we take the words and we transfigure the letters within the words and transpose them, then we come up with an unlimited amount of possibilities, an unlimited amount of words to create an unlimited amount of creations. So yes, everything was created by God's speech. However, as we discussed earlier on in this chapter, the words that we have, speech is made up of a body and a soul. The soul of the speech, as we explained, comes from Chachma, whereas the body of the speech, the breath, that is what comes from Malchus, that is what comes from the Hey. So the soul comes from the Yud, the body comes from the Hey. In all the higher worlds, even though that all of them are created by God's speech, but because they're spiritual beings, they are sensitive to, and they are aware of, and have some sort of grasp in the Yud, in the Chachma, in the soul behind the words. Therefore, we can't say about the higher worlds that they are created with the Hey, because the Yud is revealed in the higher worlds to a certain extent. It is only in our physical world, we only have a relationship with the physicality, the body of God's words, which is the Hey, and that's why we say that our world was created with the Hey. By way of example, think of words. Imagine you have a book. So you open up a book, there are pages, many different words on the page. There is the body of the words, which is the ink that you see, the physical shape of the letters. And then there is the soul, which is the meaning, the content, the ideas that are being expressed with these words. But imagine you don't understand the language in which this book is written. So then all you have is the body, all you have is the physical letters, the squiggles on the page. Now, do these letters contain an incredible light, incredible ideas? Yes, but to you they're hidden. The same thing is also in the spiritual worlds. Because they are spiritual beings, they can relate to the Chachma, the light, which is the soul of the words with which the worlds were created. And that's why they are connected to the Yud. In our world, because we are a physical world, we just see the words, we don't understand the word, we don't understand what's behind the words at all. And that's why we say that specifically our world is created with the Hey. Now, if you recall, we started off this chapter by saying that we create Hashem's name through giving tzedakah, a cryptic passage in the Zohar that we examined when we started this chapter. Well, by now we understand a little better the workings, the dynamics of God's name and how it interacts with creation. And now we're ready in tomorrow's Tanya to begin with the answer to this question: what does it mean to make God's name, and why is that done through giving tzedakah?
All right. Pirkei Avot is up next, doing chapter 4. You're up to number 9.
Welcome back to another Pirkei Avot text explication with me, your host, Rabbi Drew. We are now on the 19th text in the 4th chapter of Pirkei Avot, and this is a saying by Shmuel HaKatan, Samuel the Small. Interesting name to be sure. He has an even more curious statement. Now, we've been seeing all sorts of statements, and what he's going to say is you can either view as a 2-part statement or 4-part statement. So in that sense, either 2-part or 4-part, that's very sticking within the style, or at least the formatting, of the other statements that we have encountered in, certainly in this chapter. That certainly works. We've seen both 2 and 4-parters. What's strange is basically the text. We've seen lots of advice, and the advice that Shmuel HaKatan here, Small Samuel, gives is thematically and content-wise, it's very much sticking with the theme of interpersonal behaviors and conduct. So we're going to read it, but then I'm going to throw in a twist at the end. Here's what he says. Binfol oivecha al tismach. If your enemy falls, do not exult. Uvi kashlu al yagel libecha. If one trips, don't let your heart be happy. Pen yira Adonai v'ra be'enav, lest the Lord see it and be displeased. V'heshiv me'alav apo, and avert his wrath from him. Okay. It's interesting because considering the previous text, this seems thematically connected. And the reason I would suspect that this text comes immediately after the text we previously encountered in the 18th text, which, just to refresh our memories, was by Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar, Rabbi Simon, son of Elazar, and he had a 4-part wisdom advice, and really about timeliness. There's certain, and being sensitive to one's fellows. So thinking about just a couple examples to jog our memories, don't question one's fellow at the time of one's vowing or swearing something off. Do not try to comfort your fellow at the hour while one's dead lies before that person. So just being sensitive to these things. And here it's similar, right? When they're falling, don't rejoice. And basically, and if one trips, don't let your heart rejoice, which was similar to don't try to see your friend at the hour of one's disgrace from Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar in the previous text. So thematically, it's actually fairly similar. It doesn't have the same timing aspects as we'd seen that was a common thread throughout each of the 4 pieces of Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar's statement in the previous text, but it's pretty similar about not being happy when your fellow falls. And then, of course, there's this latter part of lest the Lord see it and it be wicked in his eyes, and then avert his wrath from this person. Okay, sounds good, solid advice. Here's the twist. All of what Shmuel HaKatan, Small Samuel, is saying, his advice is a straight out quote from 2 consecutive verses in the book of Proverbs. It's actually from the 24th chapter of Proverbs, verses 17 and 18. He just straight up quotes them. We have not seen that in Pirkei Avot. Sure, we've seen maybe a quote here or there from the Bible, from Tanakh, but it's almost, one wonders why even bother saying something. It's already there in Tanakh. It's already there in our scriptures. It's certainly curious. It certainly stands out. Clearly, it was placed here in juxtaposition with the previous text by Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar. Certainly curious by this Sam the Small, Shmuel HaKatan. Certainly a curious one. All right, it's cute. It's there. Alrighty, that's what we got for now. But in the end, look, I will say this. Shmuel HaKatan is not wrong. It's just kind of curious why he's just straight up quoting this biblical verses. But still, it's good advice. Don't exult when your friend falls or your enemy falls. And if one trips, don't get so excited, because guess what? The balance of things could sort of tip the other way. God could say, oh, you're being happy when your friend's falling, or I'm sorry, your enemy falls. So good advice. Alrighty. Thank you so much for watching.
All right, fantastic. And that takes us to the Rambam, Sefer HaMitzvahs.
No, it's not impossible that Rebbe did say, just study Rambam each and every day. I'll never miss my daily Rambam. My Rebbe so desires, I'm not busy or too tired. When I learn Rambam connected, I remain, I am a link in the Rebbe's golden chain.
Baruch Hashem, today is day number 103 of our daily study of Rambam Sefer HaMitzvahs. And in the 3 chapters a day of Mishnah Torah, we are still in Hilchas Shchita, the laws of ritual slaughter, chapters 9, 10, and 11. And our mitzvah today is actually not about Shchita, it's not about ritual slaughter. But the Rambam deals with this mitzvah in the laws of ritual slaughter, because it's sort of related. And the mitzvah is shooing away the mother bird from the nest. So you see why it might be related to Shchita. I mean, if you were creating a 14-volume compendium of all of the halachas of all of Judaism that pertain to all times and in all situations, where would you put the mitzvah Shulach Hakan? The Rambam put it with the laws of ritual slaughter. Now you're going to say, well, I don't know where to put it because I don't know what Shulach Hakan is. You didn't tell me yet. Okay, you're right. Fair enough. So let's do this. Negative commandment 306. The prohibition against taking the mother bird together with the children or the eggs. Somebody is out hunting. See why it's kind of related to Shchita, to ritual slaughter, and he encounters a nest and he says, oh, I want to take those chicks or those eggs, but look, there's a mother bird there. So he has a prohibition: do not take those little baby birds or eggs while the mother bird is still there. That is the prohibition. Now, is there any remedy for that? Is there anything you can do to be able to take those eggs or those baby birds if you want them? Why, yes, there is. And I can't tell you. I could tell you, but I'm not going to tell you because then I would be spoiling tomorrow's mitzvah. So we'll see you again tomorrow for the continuation of this narrative. Okay, see you tomorrow, God willing.
Today's mitzvah is described by our sages as a mitzvah which is light and easy to fulfill. It's called Shiluach Hakan. Negative mitzvah 306 states that if one chances upon a nest with a mother bird hovering over its young chicks or eggs, one should not grab the entire nest for himself. Instead, one should first send away the mother bird and then take the young that he desires. This spares the mother bird the pain of seeing her young grabbed away before her eyes. In fact, even if one did transgress the mitzvah and take the entire nest as a whole, he always has a chance to fix it by later sending away the mother bird. The Torah rewards us for this mitzvah with arichut yamim, long life. And our sages have commented, if for this incredibly easy mitzvah the reward is so great, how much more so when one expends and invests effort into fulfilling harder mitzvahs, how much more so will they be rewarded for that.
And there you have it. Mitzvah minute number 103. Can you believe that? I know. Fantastic. Matters of Mashiach. Can you believe we're here already? All right, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Sweeney Todd. I know, I'm very excited going to see Sweeney tonight, and I will report on that tomorrow, God willing. All right, Mashiach thought for today, the 16th day of Av. Why was the 15th such a great festival? Well, on that day, the tribes were permitted to marry each other. On that day, the tribe of Biederman was reaccepted after a civil war. On that day, the decree that the generation was supposed to die in the desert was lifted. On that day, Hosea removed the roadblock set by Yeruvam to prevent pilgrimage to the temple, And on that day, those massacred at Beitar were finally buried. The day of 15th of Av symbolizes the transformation of the sorrow of exile into the joy of redemption. Specifically, it was a day of healing, when the divisions between man and his fellow and between man and God were rectified. This rectification reverses the cause of the destruction of the first and second temples. It is impossible to exist as a people without unity with each other, nor can we have a spiritual existence without unity with Hashem. Reclaiming this unity prepares the way for Mashiach.
Shalom Aleichem, everybody. Hope all is well. We're living in extremely interesting and important times right now. We're living in the times directly preceding the coming of the Messiah. We're in the times where, in our lifetimes, God willing, all of us will see the coming of the Mashiach. And the Rebbe told us, the leader of our generation told us that we are in the final of generations. And now's the time that we should start preparing ourselves with the coming of Mashiach. We have to prepare ourselves for the coming of Mashiach in multiple ways. One, by talking about the Mashiach's coming to all those who we encounter and teaching the non-Jewish people about the 7 laws of Noach, the laws for all of mankind. The second step is we have to learn the secrets of Torah Chassidus. Chassidus is the Kabbalistic secrets of Torah, but brought down to us in a way that we can all comprehend. This is the inner life force of the Torah, and it's the spiritual dimension of the Torah, where we learn about the different spiritual levels, and we learn about godliness, and we learn about God. And this is what gives us the inspiration to follow God's laws. Because it's one thing to learn about God's laws, which is a must and is absolutely necessary, and we must follow His laws. But it is not enough. We must learn about why we're following His laws and who we're doing these laws for. We must learn Chassidus, the secrets of Torah, so that our service of God has life to it. It's not just a robotic action, but rather it's a living service of God. And the next step is we also have to give charity. We have to share with what God has given us, with those around us, give back to God's people and give back to God. And with that, we can accelerate this coming of Mashiach. We must do teshuvah, return to God, and show love to our fellows. Of course, there's much more to this, but these are the general messages. We must live with the coming of Mashiach. We must anticipate the Mashiach's coming at every single moment. One of the things God's going to ask you is, did you await the coming of Mashiach? Did you prepare it? Did you long for it at every moment? We must long for the Messiah's arrival, because when the Messiah comes, there'll be two main parts to this. The end to suffering and the introduction of pleasure. God's going to remove all the darkness and He's going to bring upon us the light. God bless you all. May we see this today.
Amen. And now our PSAs.
It was very obvious from my first visit to Masbia that it is a very special place. Feeding the hungry is a mitzvah in and of itself, but the dignified way in which Masbia carries out this mission is really very, very special. And my husband and I were taken in immediately. We've taken our family there to actually do the work, but the work needs to be supported financially. And on one such occasion, my husband and I donated some much-needed tables. And in the spirit of Masbia, Alex Rappaport could not just discard the tables. And they say that something that's used for so many mitzvahs really is a holy vessel unto itself. So what did he come up with? He repurposed the tables. He sent them to a special artist who has designed incredible mezuzahs. So you're basically wrapping your mitzvah within a mitzvah. These were made from the wood tables that fed millions of hungry people over many, many years. So please feel very good about making this generous donation and receiving this very special gift.
All right. Masbia's food Pet food to 726-879, 726-879, and you can get 7 days worth of pantry food and hot meals every single day. In Lakewood, tomcheishabbos.org, tomcheishabbos.org. In In Rockland County, Tomche Shabbos. In Lakewood, tomche.org. All right. Achiezer.com. Achiezer.com is available 24/7 for all of your needs, spiritual or physical. They've got everything that you need to have. So take a look at it. Go there if you need their help. Hatzalah.org. Hatzalah's EMS app, the Global Assist app, is now available on the Android and App Stores. Get it and put it on your home screen, okay? Miss Oskim is there in times of bereavement to help you out with whatever you need from A to Z. They can handle absolutely anything and everything. Give them a call. Just One Shabbos, the organization dedicated to bringing some lost youth back to the mitzvah of keeping Shabbos. And you know, that's a huge mitzvah. All right. The victim of, or you see a hate crime in progress, you call 911 immediately. You don't wait. And please, when you're out and about, please continue to wear your mask.
Mask, wear a
There are
mask.
some
Is
surges
this
coming.
really much to ask? Tie some
New vaccines
fabric round
coming
your
out
face.
in
Oh, it's
September.
the simplest.
I think pretty much after that will probably be okay. I'm not sure. I couldn't tell you. Get your vaccines, get your boosters, and stay up to date. All right, let's bring it down to earth with the wisdom. The true teacher is most present in his absence. Okay. It's then that all he taught takes root, grows, and blossoms. The student, well, despairs for the teacher's guidance, and in that yearning, the student leaves behind the old ways of thinking, and his mind opens to receive all that his teacher gave, to think as his teacher taught, know as his teacher knew. Right? Amazing. When you social media, come talk to me on Clubhouse, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Telegram, Twitter, WhatsApp, or the Actors Rabbi. Baruch ato Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam boirei nefashos rabois v'chesroinan al kol ma sheborosa lachayos bohem nefesh kol chai baruch chai ha'olamim. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for being here. Patreon sponsors, Pastor Ridal, Tarzan Morgan, Unity Design, Dr. Susan Spitzer, Bracha Biederman. I'm a sponsor today. And you can participate in the mitzvah of bringing Torah all around the world. It's you know, it's mind-boggling to me that happened. And yeah, I'm just so grateful. So very, very grateful to all those people who have been in charge of that. All right. Tomorrow night is Shabbat already. I know. I can't believe it. All right. So Thursday, go do your Shabbos shopping. Let's get ready for Shabbos. I'm excited about it. You will be too. It's tomorrow night. So these times apply to tomorrow night, not to tonight. Okay? All right, so don't get too excited. What did we do over here? I got to check this out because for some reason something's wrong. Okay. I got it. All right. I'll fix it. Hold on. There we go. All right. So yes, candlelighting tomorrow night is at I don't know, this thing got all messed up. I'll have to fix it. 7:58. Is that what it is? 7:50 and 8:53. 7:50 and 8:53. So we'll just correct that now. 7:50 and 8:53. There we go. All right. I know. Nachamu. Last week was Shabbos Nachamu. Yes, last week was Shabbos Nachamu. This week is Parshas Eikev, but we have a beautiful song with Elli Dach's Nachamu. So enjoy that. In the words of Rabbi Isaac Hamler, have affection for a fellow, Hashem will have affection for you. Do a kindness for a fellow, Hashem will do a kindness for you. Draw a fellow close, Hashem will draw you close. Go out and do something nice for someone good today. In the words of Rabbi Isaac Hamler, have affection for a fellow, Hashem will... I did that already, right? I'm sorry. Be the reason someone smiles. Make it a great and glorious day. L'shana teva, ksiva teva, l'shana teva, masuka. I will talk to you tomorrow, God willing.
Eikev, Nachamu Ami, Yoimar Eikev, Nachamu Ami, Yoimar Eikev, Aleile Ani Boichia, Aleile Ani Boichia, Dabru Alei, Vivru Shalom.
And I know that it's been so long. Won't you please bring us back to our home?